All right, wholesalers, we've got another amazing episode. We've got the legendary Chris Jordan. If you don't know who Chris is, you might be living under a rock, but Chris carried the bag, man. Chris is a former wholesaler. He understood that you have to add value to your financial advisors. One thing that Chris specializes in is helping advisors get more referrals, introductions, more business from COIs, CPAs, and attorneys. Chris, I think you've trained what, 2 to 3 thousand advisors that have brought on like millions and billions of dollars of new client assets. And then lastly, according to my notes, you're the creator of the industry's first COI training program. Is that accurate? Was there a COI training program before Chris Jordan?
Not that I'm aware about. I mean, we just kind of took that topic and we just focused on it. So, I haven't come across. I mean, a lot of people talk COIs, right? There's a lot of great coaches, legendary coaches that talk about getting referrals. But I do believe that this is the only one that's really just focused on CPA and attorney referrals for financial advisors.
Wow. So take us back, man. You went to Georgetown, right? Shout out to Allen Iverson, my favorite athlete of all time. But you graduated from Georgetown, and then you had an in with. How did you get started with BlackRock? Like, how did you get into the industry here?
So BlackRock was actually kind of like my third job, if you will. But I started actually in Tribeca in New York City at a company called Citigroup, right? Smith Barney, and I was on their desk, right? So I got a chance to talk to like 12,000 advisors from all over the country, from Philly and out your way now in the Pac West and Hawaii, and they would call into the desk. And most of your audience, they know about being on the desk, right? And this was more of a service inbound desk at first, and then we had an opportunity to work over at move Midtown with probably arguably the best desk in the industry, the Equitable, which back in the day, AXA. Equitable, that desk in 1290 Avenue America is again arguably the number one desk in the industry that time. And then from there, got married and we're having our first child. So I wanted to get a little closer, stay actually in New Jersey, and had the opportunity to work at BlackRock, which is based out in Princeton. And I did that for 4 years. So, but all Citigroup, AXA, BlackRock, phenomenal companies. So it was a great start to the career.
Wow, you solved a riddle for me because I was wondering why Equitable called their mutual funds the 1290 funds, but you just solved that riddle for me. That was the address was 1290, right? Is that how that came in? I didn't know that
Like
until now.
some say, if you don't know, now you know. If
You
you
don't
don't
know,
know,
now
now
you
you
know.
know.
So we were just talking offline about kind of the two camps of wholesalers, right? One's kind of the product guy, one's the value guy, but you were just riffing with me on that topic, man. What are your kind of thoughts on kind of the two or three camps of wholesalers?
Yeah, and I think most of your audience, most people watching this show now, they're gonna they know what I'm talking about, is because you got really two main mindsets. I mean, there's probably a couple of more, but you got the mindset that says that, look, we have to sell product and we need to increase sales, we need to get our commissions up, and we need to make money, and that's probably why most of us get into the business anyway, right? So that mindset just permeates all of us young, career bound professionals that are like, we're trying to make money, right? So you get a product and you're taught, let's learn about the product and let's just kind of compete with the other annuity companies, other mutual funds, the other alternative investments, and why mine is better so I can sell. But then you've got the other across the river, if you will, right? Jersey or Philly, right? Like across the bridge, right? You've got the other mindset that says, hey, I want to add value to clients or financial advisors. In fact, I'm going to differentiate myself by doing something different, specifically, not just putting a used sneaker in a box and just sending, hey, can I get the other shoe in for a meeting, right? Kind of thing, like, which is nothing wrong with that kind of stuff. But like, I want to add value and truly help them with what they're most interested in, which is what growing their business, right? So you got really two camps of wholesalers out there. And again, not a knock, really not trying to knock either one, right? But it's crazy that what we're talking about is how like there's such a difference in mindset, and there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of wholesaler professionals that are probably fall into one of these two.
Yeah, and maybe the third one's the relationship guy, right? There's the product, there's the wholesaler who's
Yeah.
amazing. They know everything about, they're the product guru, the product nerd. Then you got the value add who wants to help you grow your business. And then you got the third wholesaler is the relationship guru. They're just out there, taking people to lunch and taking people to ball games. And what I try to tell people is, you really want to be all three, right? You want to be product, relationship, and value. If I can take an advisor and their team out to a ball game, right, and we have an amazing time, and the Mariners win a playoff game, and everybody's high-fiving, that gets you into the office, and then you meet with the advisor, and hey, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you want more referrals and introductions? Do you want to get more business from your existing clients? Do you want to get in front of COIs? Oh, Matt, I want to get in front of COIs. Okay, great. If I can help you get in front of COIs, will you at least look at the product proposal that I put together for you? Oh, Matt, yeah, if you can help me get in front of COIs, absolutely, we'll look at that product proposal. So it's maybe the answer is you're kind of the you just got to be all three. Unfortunately, you got to be good at everything, right? It gets a little difficult, but tell us about your wholesaling career, Chris. How did you approach wholesaling when you carried the bag back in the day?
Well, what you said is so huge, man. There's like a diamond, like that was a huge gem you just dropped, in terms of being all three, and that's kind of what I tried to do, the best that I could, and what I found is that so you can be all three. It's like be prepared to be all three at the right time, right? And I always found that if you start with the relationship or even start with the value, meaning I want to add value and or I want to get to know you, right? And this has happened so many times in business, as you know, Matt. Like what'll happen if you just push that button, let's say the value button, or if you just if you push the relationship button the right way, eventually, what does the financial advisor say? Hey, so tell me what do you got? Right. Or tell me about that. What products do you have? Right. And all of a sudden you're like, you're eating a hot dog. And you're like, oh, ding, ding, ding. It's time to go. Right. And that's what I try to do is that, so I had to build really two territories from scratch. Right. So I was at Hatteras, private equity hedge fund company. We got purchased by the almighty RCS back in the day, like this mega sales force of REITs and real estate investment products. So we got part of that, and there was an opportunity to build a territory selling at the time the interval funds, right? Kind of like that in between. We were selling like these interval funds and hedge funds, and it was like, all right, well, where are the sales at? Well, it's zero. So like you got to start. So now Chris Jordan gets tasked with build the territory in the Southeast, in the Carolinas, Kentucky, and Tennessee, and there's no business. So I said, man, I got to do something different. And and then after they shut down, which I think many of y'all know, the RCS, they shut down. It was a tough time for a lot of talented salespeople. But the next company that I work with, I had to do the same thing again. And they said there's basically, they didn't tell me this, but there was no sales coming in. This is a mutual fund, so I had to basically have the same territory. I had to go out there and do it again. But what I found quickly was that if I could start to add value, build relationship and add value quickly, the sales would follow. And my first year with that company, I was the number one out of I think maybe seven or eight, or maybe it was a small sales force. I was number one in sales and kind of a relatively newer wholesaler, but I just stuck with that play and just said, hey, value, 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 relationship, and then they would say, hey, what do you have? And I would just simply deliver it.
Wow, it's so in terms of value, what got you down this track specifically with COIs? Like how did that get started? Were you just in the lab, just like cooking up ideas, or what kind of led you down that path?
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like that you asked that question. So it's now that I think about it, it started with so one of the best experiences, the most ideal and most desired experiences that all wholesalers have is when the home office or the manager comes to travel with you, right? Like isn't that's the greatest, right? So and I had a chance to have that. It seemed like every other month that was happening, but nonetheless, I'm in the car with a manager, and we're just going through meetings, and then he happens to bring up the name Bill Cates and CPA and CPA referrals, and just kind of like kind of has given me maybe an idea to kind of start to um, and and then I kind of just put that in the back of my put in my back pocket for a while. But then I started to ask the question, how do you grow your business? Is a common question, right? How do you grow your business? And I started to hear um, we grow our business through referrals from CPAs and even attorneys. But you know what, Matt? What I found out was that 49 out of 50 meetings I would have, only one would say that. And I said, that's interesting. And that one was typically a strong advisor, right? So I said, if the best advisors, the corner office advisors, the big independents are doing that, there's got to be something here. So I literally started to study this topic, like in my hotel room. Like I'd be traveling, I'd be in Kentucky, Louisville, studying this concept on YouTube and just learning. And I started to learn more and I started to deliver content in these meetings. And what I found was that number one, I could get meetings, but number two, I could get follow-up meetings. And I started simply booking myself back into meetings. Yeah, I'll be back out in here. I'll be back in Nashville. I'll be back here in 2 weeks. And I would just book multiple meetings from that because I broke it down. Like, you've got courses and you teach in terms of modules. I would break it up into like 2 or 3 sessions. And I found that advisors like that. And it was totally different. And that's kind of how we got started on that track.
Yeah, as my good friend Derek Kinney says, if you can help an advisor attract more prospects and new clients from CPAs and COIs, you go from overlooked to overbooked, right? All of a sudden you're in a meeting with an advisor and they're like, "Hey, you know what? Can we set up another meeting with my whole team because they need to hear this idea." And that in your head, that's when you're like, "All right, now I'm wholesaling at a high level. If they want to have you back in, that's when you know you're on the right track, right? If you meet with an advisor and they're like, "All right, cool, man, thanks," and then there's and they don't want to see you again, chances are you want the advisor to think of you as like a cash register, right? They're like, "I need to get that guy back in as fast as I can because that guy's gonna give me an idea that's gonna lead to some money." So what
Yeah.
resources? I mean, you became addicted, right? You were like, "I'm all in. I want to help advisors with this because I see the success it's having." And what did you start reading or studying? Like, what were the resources that were even available back then to learn that skill?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. One of the big resources that I learned prior to the whole COI initiative was I had a trainer at AXA, Steve Carapella. He's over at Definity right now, on the retirement TPA side. But he was training the desk, and he gave me it was a 6 CD. It was CDs, man. It was like way back in the day, and he gave it to me back in the day, and I pulled it out so like years later, like, and I'm out in the field, I started to listen to those CDs. It was from Brian Tracy, and it was
Yeah.
called Advanced Selling Techniques. And there is so much in that CD set that actually translated into a lot of the COIs, like referral skills that we teach today. But yeah, I started out like listening to people like Bill Cates, like on YouTube. There was like 1 or 2 videos that I would just kind of keep watching there, different articles. But you know what I found was that there wasn't a ton of resource, which kind of said to me, you know what? I think there's an opportunity here. there's an opportunity to actually deliver something that everybody wants. Everyone says they want COI referrals, but not a lot of people are teaching it. A lot of the firms, especially, aren't teaching these advisors these skills. So that's kind of where we stepped in.
There was a gap. There's a gap in education in the marketplace, right? That's what you just said resonates with me because all of the advisors want to get introductions and referrals from COIs because to your point, the top advisors are the ones getting referrals from COIs, but almost no advisor knows how to do that. So if you can be the person that
Yeah.
solves that gap, I mean, I try to teach advisors this and wholesalers this is what are some of the biggest pain points for clients, right? Well, taxes, right? The number one expense in retirement is taxes. How many high net worth clients want to know how to minimize taxes? All of them. How many know how to do it? How many high net worth clients know all the different ways to minimize taxes in retirement? Probably none of them. So
Yeah.
why don't you be the person to fill that education gap, right? Why don't we start a webinar series on different strategies to minimize taxes in retirement?
Oh, so now you're starting to show how you do why you're different, man, and this is kind of like where and this probably a minority of your audience that kind of falls into the Matty D camp, quite frankly, because like yeah, same thing. Like you saw there was a gap, and the gap is unfortunately because the industry is so focused on sales there's not a lot of time and resource spent or invested in teaching the basics to wholesalers. It's, at least from what I've found, and I worked at some really phenomenal companies and no knock to these companies, but a lot of, outside of AXA, which kind of had like they had like the training program kind of thing, but even you just kind of what are the basics? How do you conduct a meeting? How do you listen? How do you even start to add value? How do you execute the value? And what you just said about let's do a webinar series. I mean, that's kind of what we started seeing wholesalers do with our masterclass is, hey, like, let's actually do a series. And literally thousands of advisors are getting on these calls. And the wholesaler, if if the wholesaler if they're skilled, every registration, like you said, right? You said turns is a meeting. So yeah, that's a huge deal. Like a lot of unfortunately, the industry hasn't really spent time teaching, and investing in like the stuff that like the really good stuff that really makes a good wholesaler. It's kind of just like, all right, let's just put a bunch of people out there and we'll find out who the best wholesalers are. But here you are, you come, you say, you know what, this is what's working. In fact, I'll teach my whole company how to do this. I'll teach all the wholesalers, in fact, all over the world, how to do what I just did, right? So hats off to you, man.
Oh, well, I definitely want to get into some of the training you can do, how wholesalers can bring you to their company, how they can bring you to your financial advisors, the large teams, the Morgan Stanleys, the Merrill Lynches, the UBSs, the large RIAs. But I have to go back just for one quick second because you talked about your boss traveling with you, right?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh man, dude, I remember the first time my boss traveled with me. I'm like not a great driver, dude. I'm a slow driver. Like my dad used to yell at me. He always say drive under the speed limit. And my boss would be like, D Fernando, you're killing me. You're driving so slow. And then I'd go into my meetings and I'm a nail biter. Like I bite my nails, and that's like my my vice. And I'd be doing this pitch to the advisor, and my boss would be like, "Dude, your nails look horrible." Do you like? He's like, "Don't even write with a pen, and you're don't even take notes because your nails are just horrible." So now the next meeting, I'm trying to like hide my nails as I'm taking notes. But I
That's
think
great.
every wholesaler can resonate with how stressful it is because you have a meeting with an advisor and you're putting all of your energy into that meeting, and then usually you need like a de-stress time, like you need like that time in between meetings to kind of catch your breath. But when your manager's with you, you don't really get that de-stress time. So uh,
No, let's just stay in. We're gonna just we have to be in impress mode the whole time, like the whole 8 hours or whatever, 24/7, right? Always
yes,
impressive.
yes. And then every manager I had, and I know we're getting a little off track, but this is a fun topic. They're a manager, so they're not in the game anymore. So usually what happens is you're running your meetings and like a minute into their meeting, they jump, they're just like, they take over the meeting and you're just like, oh goodness, here we go. Like, anyway, that should be a whole nother bit is traveling with your manager.
You
Uh,
know what's actually really interesting is after you go through that, right? And like all that stress and all that critique and all that, and then maybe a week later you meet with the advisor and they say, "Oh, why did you bring that guy out here?" And they actually, you know,
yeah,
like I'm sorry. So then you got to clean up the mess that your boss has made.
right. And they're not expecting it, right? It's like when I was serving tables, every now and then you'd have a trainee and you're like, hey, my name's Matt, and this is it's just not same with your like you get into an advisor's office, they're like, who's this other person? You're like, this is my boss. And then, it's just awkward for everybody.
Oh man.
All right, let me steer us back on track here. So tell us a little bit about your COI partnership process. Like, is there any way you can give us just a little taste of how advisors can better connect with COIs?
Yeah, you know what I found when you first start a business like this, it seems like, and you're reaching out to financial advisors, it seemed like from the beginning it was always, what do I like? Give me the thing to do, right? Like give me the tactic. In fact, it was like, what do I say on LinkedIn, or what do I say to a CPA that hasn't returned 3,000 of my calls, right? Like questions like that, right? Like, and I'm like, and I realized that it's less about what you do and more about how you think. And so this game of, we'll call it, because I'm an athlete, football player, sports. This game of COI referrals is really about thinking that these are partnerships, thinking that you want to serve the client well. And if I can just simply get enough partners, right, that we have a collaborative mutual relationship with, and I can communicate my value and show professionalism, right, the referrals will come. But it's always been backwards. So, if anything, what we teach in terms of, we always start with the mindset. So if we teach a RA or like a huge UBS team or what have you, um, we always start with the mindset, and the mindset that it takes to succeed with COIs, and kind of we also cover what barriers. And we've got like this resource that was like the most downloaded resource we've ever had, called the 6 barriers to COI referral. That's on LinkedIn. It's on our website, but so many advisors download that piece, but because it shows what's blocking you, right? And so now we get them to see, okay, this is the mindset, but then also, oh, these are the things that I need to overcome. And what happens is now that starts to affect your strategy, how you approach the meeting, how you approach. I mean, same thing with wholesaling, right? Like if you kind of know that there's, okay, 30, 40 other annuity wholesalers or mutual fund wholesalers that are in this guy's office, maybe I could think differently about this, right? So, and then we get into the process, and the process is simply, how do you how do you get introduced to more COIs? How do you set up and conduct meetings properly? And then how do you actually follow up after the meeting? So that's kind of generally the stages, that kind of like the mindset, kind of some of the barriers, and then we just kind of get into the process of what it takes to grow a large network. And you really need a large network, because you can't really just rely on one or two, because there may only be 1 or 2 times a year where a good CPA has to give a referral. And when they do give the referral, they're going to give three, right? A choice of three. So you got one shot a year to be one of three. So go do the math.
And one COI partner can really be a year changer, right? Like
Huge, huge.
I used to sell real estate, 1031 exchange. People could do tax deferred large transactions of highly appreciated real estate. And one of my advisors got a referral from a CPA, The guy was selling 4 apartment buildings for $84 million, and he ended up doing a 1031 exchange from that referral to the advisor for $39 million on a 1031 exchange. That was a $2.4 million commission for the advisor from one CPA referral, right?
Man,
That's
man,
crazy. One
it's
transaction. So, when I was wholesaling real estate, I would tell every advisor, hey, if you want me to do anything for your CPAs, some education on how to minimize taxes and retirement with real estate, if your CPAs have any clients that own highly appreciated real estate or business real estate, or they're retiring and they need to sell their business real estate, let me know. I'll order lunch into the office for all 8 CPAs so that they get free lunch out of the deal. And then all I ask is that we hop on a 20-minute Zoom, and I would do it right from my computer. We'd order lunch into the office for the CPAs, and then we do an education on 5 different ways to minimize taxes and retirement with real estate, and we'd get business. One of the CPA offices, they had one family that had 15 investment properties, and next thing you know, the advisor's like, Matt, this is amazing. Now I'm working on a large transaction. So it's those can be year changers for people. So give me some examples of some success stories that you've had partnering with distribution companies, because one of the biggest challenges in the industry is, Matt, I need to get meetings, right? I've got gaps in my calendar, or I'm busy one week and I'm empty the next week because the week that I'm busy, I didn't have time to do my scheduling. So, if a distribution company partners with Chris Jordan, what are some of the results that you've seen out there?
right, man. Look, and you're hitting on something that's so huge, and this is where I have to applaud you and say, like, you add so much value. So you see the gap is getting meetings, but at the same time, and you and I know that. Now, when a wholesaler hires us and brings us in, they have the opportunity to get so many meetings. So many. So the whole my calendar isn't full. I have so many gaps. That literally should be alleviated. Like right. But here's what I found out, and you probably teach. Not everyone is equipped to take a list of names and turn that into meetings. Unfortunately, right? Not everyone has the same skill set. So, but I'll tell you where it has worked, right? So we have seen. I mean, we've worked with so many different wholesalers from Fidelity to Lincoln to Blue Rock. We had Janus. I mean, so many. Allianz or First Eagle, like all so many different. And one that did really well was a one out in Chicago, and she was kind of a newer to the territory. She had kind of switched companies, so she was a new firm, and so she was kind of like in the rebuild mode. And she literally got herself, or we kind of worked together to get in front of Merrill Lynch Chicago as a first opportunity. Huge, huge, huge opportunity for her, right? Because in Chicago, there's a lot of wholesalers, a lot of good ones too, right? But so she gets in, and at the time we were doing like it was like a 5-part training. So we trained 40 Merrill Lynch advisors, 5 weeks, 1 week at a time, or 1 hour each week. So what she did was, not only did she step into each meeting, and like she conducted the meeting from the office every week, right? But she also met with many of the advisors before we started the training. And I said, that's how you do this. That's how you do this. So she was meeting with the advisors before the meeting, or before I came in, every week after, and then or during, and then after. But there was this one team that she met, and I flew in. They flew me into Chicago on this first meeting. I get in there, and there's like we had to do like two. It was packed, so they had to do like 2 sessions. So I'm in there like 2 hours, different. But one of the meetings, there was like a junior advisor, like a VP on like this multi-billion-dollar team. This advisor comes to that one meeting only, didn't even come to the rest of the training. But the wholesaler connects with this lady, ends up having a follow-up meeting 1, 2, and 3. And then I think it was probably 2 or 3 months later, that team sent her $11 million in one day, mutual fund trade.
Wow.
So she took a relationship that was in there for one of our training sessions. She was able to follow up, follow up, follow up, build a rapport. They sent her just in one day of trade. And I don't know how much they've done with her since, but that was huge. But that's the kind of stuff that happens when you and I'm sure you teach this, when you lead with value, you get people's attention. You now cast a net and you attract all the bees, right? And now it's the skill of the wholesaler, which is that's kind of the missing ingredient that is where you add value. I'm sure once you get them all in the room, if you can skillfully build a rapport, then you will see your sales skyrocket in a big way.
Yeah, it's a domino effect, that's a great success story. And then it's okay, that one advisor, right? Now they love the wholesaler. They love the value that they brought, right? Hey, this wholesaler brought me genuine value on how I can attract higher net worth clients from COIs. Well, guess what they want to do next? Hey, can you refer me to the branch manager, right? And then the branch manager says, hey, you should meet with this wholesaler, right? He or she brings amazing resources to the table on how you can attract higher net worth clients through COIs. Hey, would you mind coming in and doing a presentation for everybody in the office with the Wirehouse team on Chris's process on how to attract, right? Now you might be able to turn that one relationship into, an OSJ or a branch manager or a managing director. If you can get their, if that advisor says, hey, Chris is bringing more value or such and such is bringing more value, now they're going to want to refer you because value, I always say a process is referable, but a product is not referable. No wholesaler is ever going to go to their regional director and say, you got to meet with Chris or you got to meet with Matt. They have the best annuity ever. It's going to solve all the problems that we have.
I haven't
Right?
heard that yet.
No, no. Oh my God. I just got out of the meeting and their ETF is like, guys, we're all going to be millionaires. Like it's over. Like the ETF is so good that clients are just, we're just going to stand at the shopping mall and they'll probably just sign up for our services. No, but they can they can refer a process, right? If you, and I think one of the cool things is if a distribution company does hire you to, work with their advisors, I'm assuming they get to sit in on the training, right? So they're going to learn a lot just from being a part of that. And again, that's something that gets referred as, hey, you got to meet with Chris. He can help you get more introductions and referrals from COIs. And that's something that's going to get you referred. It's not going to be the product that gets you referred. Um, Maybe a relationship. Hey, Chris might take you out and spend money on you at a Mariners game, but oh
Well, yeah.
man,
So I mean, so what you're saying is like so spot on. Like, we've done these we've done these masterclass events, right? Where we'd have a distribution company, like they'd sponsor it and they'd get an audience of 200, 300, 1,000, or even more. But one after we did one masterclass last year, I think in maybe June, July. About a month later, I get an email. The email says, "Hey, Chris, I'm I manage $7 billion. I have a UBS. I'm a UBS advisor. I manage over a $7 billion team. I want to talk to you about our COI training." So I get this call, right? I get this email. He's like, "Can you call me?" Right? No, so like, and I get a cell phone. So of course, I'm an entrepreneur, so I call him. We end up doing this training for like this multi-billion-dollar UBS team. And so not even branch manager, I don't even know if anyone in the office even knew about it, but the team knew.
yeah,
So for what you're saying, for the wholesaler that is looking to add value, they if they have like their biggest team or the biggest potential team in a territory in an office, know number one that there's so much value in teaching the Rainmakers team these CY referral development skills, right? So you got the guy who's been in business for 30 years, 40 years, but he's got maybe 5, 10, 20 other people on his team and they're not as skilled. So if a wholesaler comes in and says, look, we can help your team, we can decrease the learning curve on helping them bring in new assets, right? They're all ears. And if once the wholesaler does that one time, then what do they say? Hey, you know what? We actually just worked with XYZ team, and that'll open the door to the office, to the other advisors, even to other firms when they can now have that testimony. So it's a huge value that we've seen in terms of if a wholesaler can recognize the value for and present it to the right teams, it could be a game changer for a wholesaler.
God, I could talk to you all day. Do you have kids, Chris?
Yeah, man, a three. You got an 18-year-old girl, a 16-year-old boy, and a 11 year old daughter. So they're in school right now, homeschool. So they're having fun.
Wow. So let me ask you this. If somebody did
Yeah.
something really nice for you, right, that would be great. But what if somebody did something amazing for your kids? Like, is it more impactful if somebody does something nice for you or they actually do something nice for your kids?
Oh man, you're asking. I think you kind of know the answer to that question, man. But it's I'll tell you that's a big deal. Like to have we've gotten people say, you know what, and even when they compliment the kids or even compliment my wife, right? Oh my gosh, your kids are this. Like it's one thing to compliment Chris. Oh, whatever, Chris, you're so sharp, or you can return punts in college, so well in football. But no, but that's cool. But when you start talking about my kids and start, say, I want to bless your kids because they did so much what in this situation. That's a huge deal, man. So yeah. I think you know the answer to that one already, though.
Yeah. The reason I ask is advisors, they think of their team and their juniors like their kids. I was just at LPL Focus and I was talking to one of the top LPL advisors, and he manages $500 million, and he's got three juniors that are in their 20s and 30s. And we're at the pool, right? We got in early. We had our little pool party, our wholesaler pool party. And he said, Matt, I'm good, man. Like, you know me, dude. I'm managing $500 million. I'm set for life. He said, what keeps me up at night is I'm responsible for the success of my juniors, right? So if you could meet with them, if you could help them get more introductions, if you could help them get more referrals, if you could help them get more business, that would mean the world to me. And if you can do that, as long as the products that you're offering are good and they're viable and we've vetted them and it's a good company and a good product, we will use you in our investment lineup, right? So, sometimes wholesalers think, oh my God, I gotta do what's right by the rainmaker, but if you can do what's right by their juniors, that might actually mean more to them, to your point that you made a little bit earlier, than actually helping the rainmaker, right? So
Yeah,
it's just understanding these dynamics, these human dynamics that exist.
it's huge. I'd say one thing that what like I would see so much, like, so we'd get a room, so they'd bring us in to do a training, and I see the whole like, so we'd have 30, 40 people register, right? Let's say for a small training. I mean, we do master classes with like hundreds and hundreds, but if we did like, let's say a complex in Boston or something like that, let's say, the wholesaler sometimes will scrutinize the list, and they'll say, "Oh, there's no good advisor on this list. Like there's no big whale on the list." Right? And they'll get discouraged. And it's almost like they'll totally not see that there's 4 or 5 advisors here that are on these billion-dollar teams. And so that's a huge mistake that I've seen wholesalers make, unfortunately, is say, I only want to invest my time with the top guy, the top girl, and they just look here, but they don't see the 10 underneath that is actually the in. I mean, that's exactly what happened in Chicago, like I mentioned. She was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 down on the list in terms of the advisor rank, maybe. Wholesaler had an opportunity, got her in there, and then resulted in a huge sale. So it's a huge value that hats off to you, man. I'm sure you kind of teach that in your inner circle and help advisors or wholesalers not overlook stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just takes a little extra time and thought, right? It's like, hey, if I want to do an event, what if I did an event for the advisor's team, right? Hey, I know your team's so important to you. I know retention, keeping your staff. Why don't we do a staff appreciation or a team appreciation day? Or hey, what's one win that you've had as a team together this year? Oh, Matt, we just brought in our biggest client ever. We're having a record quarter. Oh my goodness, why don't we throw like a celebration party for you guys? Because nobody else is going to celebrate you, right? Like, why don't we celebrate the wins? Like, I'll organize it. I'll get a couple of my wholesaler buddies. We'll have the best celebration party. It's oh my God, this junior just hit 25 million, or this team just hit 1 billion, or it's just being present with thinking about those opportunities. Or if you're doing an event, hey, let's do an event where an advisor can bring their spouse, or let's do an event where the advisor can bring their kids, right? Let's do something like we got a member who just did an event for some of his top teams, and it was a minor league baseball game, but he said bring your whole family. And he was like, Matt, the advisors were like, they thanked me like 10 times because not only were they able to, bring the advisor, but it was a night out for the entire family, which is oftentimes. Anyway, you're getting me. I
Big
know we
deal.
got limited time left, Chris, but so were you a punt returner? You had alluded to punt returning. Did you return some
Yep.
kicks back in the day?
Back in the day, ran back kicks and punts, man. High school, college, and yeah, good time, good time.
What was your most legendary return? There's got to be one or two that come to mind.
Tell me, you can go. I posted this actually on a couple of times, maybe once a year. I'll post this actually on LinkedIn, so your audience can see this. But so I grew up in New Jersey, Franklin High School. We played this. We were in the playoffs against a team called Mattawan. Mattawan near the shore. And we were losing in the last minute. So, and the ball is like midfield. There's like a minute left. We're losing, and this is the playoff game. I got in. They kicked the ball on a punt. I ran 88 yards to basically win the game. And that was like that is still talked about in my town, embarrassingly sometimes. Like if I ever go back, which I don't really hardly go back, but that got us to Giant Stadium, and we played in the championship, won the championship in high school. So that was a good time for the whole community, the whole team, and the whole town. It was a good time.
All right, and you said it's on LinkedIn, the replay of that return.
Yeah. I'll post that maybe once a year to kind of give like an encouraging message. Yeah, I put it on LinkedIn. It's actually on YouTube as well. I think it's on YouTube. We'll see.
Nice. I'm going to check that out. So if you're a wholesaler out there and you want your company to potentially partner with Chris, what are the best ways to contact you? How should people reach out to our good buddy Chris here?
Yeah, you can just go to our website. You can take a look at the section. It's a cljadvisory.com, and under programs you'll see for wholesalers. So we've been really focused on doing these large masterclass events, really nationally. So a wholesaler could we still kind of do one-off do for individual wholesalers, but really if a wholesaler wants to do it, it's best to get their whole company involved, and we can do a national event. We can get a lot more access for the wholesalers. Budget will be split much better.
Yeah.
But we do like different series. So I would say go to CLJ Advisory. You could contact us through the website, or just send an email to info@cljadvisory.com, or LinkedIn as well.
Check out Chris's website, follow him on LinkedIn. If you're a divisional or national sales manager, definitely get in front of Chris. If you're a national sales manager, and you bring Chris to the table and you get a couple thousand attendees, and then your wholesalers get meetings from those attendees, now you're really a hero because that wholesaler is going to say, oh my goodness, my company is actually getting me meetings. This is amazing. Uh, All right. And then lastly, if you are a wholesaler and you do truly want to add value to advisors, you want to help them with their COI partnerships, you want to help them get more business from existing clients, you want to help them get more introductions and referrals. We do offer a lot of resources in the inner circle. So as always, if you want more information on the inner circle, we've got about 220 wholesalers. My mission is just to help you get more sales in the door, help keep your calendar full, add value to your advisors so that you get rebooked, and work more efficiently so that you have more time to spend with your families, friends, pursuing hobbies, interest, travel, whatever you like to do. So with that said, Chris, dude, this was awesome, man. I love your energy, your positivity, your enthusiasm. I know you're a great father, a great husband. The people that know you speak the world of you. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for everything that you do for the community. Thanks for help leveling up people's game, not only advisors, but wholesalers as well. And dude, thank you, man. Appreciated the conversation.
You got it, man. And hats off to you, man. Much success in your endeavor. I know, big things are ahead for the Matty D and family enterprise, man. So good luck for you, man.
All right, Chris, we'll catch you soon, brother. Talk to
All right,
you.
man.